You can't miss a single one of the 13 horror movies that you need to watch in June of 2025. What's up, cretins? What's up, creeps? My name is Chris. I'm the only person talking horror on the internet. Hit the subscribe, save this one. I do one of these every month. From new releases to milestone anniversaries, holiday celebrations to underseen exploitations, this is your calendar of carnage for June 2025? June? What's that, like Ju-on? That's terrible. Well, at least our slate isn't. Good news, you can watch Bring Her Back as many times as you want to in its first week of release, because we don't have anything until the 5th, when we have the 10th anniversary of Insidious Chapter 3, The Nightmare, and we are still here. And while I own all three, and I do enjoy all three, the one that I want you focused on is The Nightmare. Following his first feature documentary, Room 237, which explored the theories on the true meaning of Kubrick's The Shining, director Rodney Asher chose to explore real terror, night terrors to be exact, in The Nightmare. Via interviews with those who experience sleep paralysis on a regular basis, Asher sets the stage for what is arguably one of the most terrifying films ever made. And yes, again, this is a documentary. No, it is not even close to grotesque. You are not getting faces of death here. This is not a snuff film. What you are getting is recreations of what these people experience on a nightly basis, which is mostly just shadow figures in a room, but with the way that they're shot and the way that they're spoken of, it hits on such a deep, primal level that it'll make you afraid of the dark. You're not lying about that. No bullshit, I bought that movie like 3 years ago, and you can see it's still in original packaging because this movie fucked me up for like weeks. He's really tough too, so the next day, I hope that you're signed up for AMC's A-List or your local theater's equivalent, because you're gonna pay off June's entire charge in a single trip to your local cinema. First up, we're gonna try things out with the 942nd movie that's titled The Ritual. Based on a true story, name for me one exorcism movie that doesn't claim that. The Ritual follows the writings of priest and exorcist Theophilus Riesinger, played by Al Pacino, as he, as Joseph Steiger, played by Dan Stevens, set out to exorcise a demon from one Emma Schmidt, played by some lady that I've never heard of. Now, Stevens has had a great track record as of late. Pacino has seen better years, but I am open to this. What I think is noteworthy is that the Emma Schmidt case chronicled here is not the most noteworthy case that Riesinger worked on. So I assume this is going to attempt a franchise in the same vein as The Conjuring. So if that interests you, your ticket is your vote for the sequel. The second flick you're going to need to catch in your triple feature will be Dangerous Animals. And get this, if you're uninitiated, Dangerous Animals is a movie about a surfer who gets caught by a serial killer that wants to feed her to sharks. Let me repeat, a serial killer wants to dispatch their victim via shark. Now, let me sell you on this, because apparently sci-fi original this is not. Dangerous Animals is the first film in a decade from Sean Byrne, who previously helmed The Loved Ones and The Devil's Candy. It's written by Nick Leppard, I think that's how that's pronounced, maybe Leopard, whose only other film credit is the upcoming flick Keeper, which is directed by Osgood Perkins, who after the 1-2 punch of Longlegs and the Monkey, he can basically do whatever he wants. You still not convinced? This debuted at Cannes. That's right, serial killer feed shark surfer guts movie premiered at the Cannes Film Festival. If I haven't convinced you, I certainly have convinced myself, so I'll be there. Hope to see you too. And rounding it out is the third film in the partnership of Stephen King and Mike Flanagan, The Life of Chuck. It's not a horror movie. You're absolutely right. This is not a horror movie. They've been upfront about this, that this is going to fall alongside Stand By Me, The Shawshank Redemption, and The Green Mile, as opposed to like Carrie, The Shining, and It. And while there is always a touch of horror to King's work, and Flanagan has done nothing but horror, I do not give a fuck if this is a zero horror movie Because King has a ton of untold stories. Flanagan is one of the most prolific filmmakers working today. I mean, his Exorcist movie is like 9 months away. If you want more King, and you want more Flanagan, and if you want more of those two tastes tasting great together, make this successful and look forward to what number 4 is. Plus, it just looks like really good, right? I already know I'm gonna walk out of that theater a blubbering mess. I'm a sensitive guy. Unlike the unrelenting gentleman that you'll see on the 10th in our 5th film when you watch Repulsion for its 60th anniversary. Alright, so first and foremost, fuck Roman Polanski. Yes, it will 100% be easier to separate art from artist when he drops dead. But it is unfortunately a conversation that needs to be had when you have a film that is as important and as influential as Repulsion is. This 1965 classic features a 22-year-old Catherine Deneuve in a character study as a young woman sinking into a certain paranoia-inflicted madness. For her, it's a role when she had to go deeper and darker than was thought possible of her at the time. This role really took her from a place of being seen as a young, attractive, bankable talent into being an artist capable of playing anything. And she really did achieve that going forward, right? She's one of the greatest actresses of all time. On Polanski's end, the methods that he displays here in his first English language feature have been paid homage to, if not outright copied by, the likes of everyone from David Lynch to Darren Aronofsky. Further, Repulsion essentially pioneered the woman on the verge genre. We don't get to Rosemary's Baby or Carrie or Black Swan or even The Substance without it. It is a remarkably good film whose impact is on par with Psycho and Night of the Living Dead as one of the most important horror movies ever made. Far less important, but certainly far more entertaining. On the 14th, we get to chow down on The Stuff for its 40th anniversary. One of Larry Cohen's best movies, the titular Stuff is a gooey, sweet substance coming up from the earth that's described as not ice cream and not yogurt. Apparently it tastes better than both and has like 0 calories. What could go wrong? Well, I mean, you see the poster, right? That's what could go wrong. So this movie flopped, and it wasn't really until the late 2000s, early 2010s when it got kind of rediscovered and reevaluated. Now this is an absolute cult classic, and honestly, it's one of the better reminders of how batshit crazy concepts could work 40 years ago, because no studio is greenlighting a concept like this in the 2020s. You know, The Stuff is like a top 5 film food for me. If it was real, I would absolutely try it. Yeah, but you'd like turn into that. I mean, maybe, but probably not, right? You could just have a taste. What's it gonna do? He gets filmed second, so I'm still here to help you take a big bite out of June 20th for one hell of a double feature. First up, you're gonna be smiling, you son of a bitch, because the 50th anniversary is more than reason enough to watch Steven Spielberg's 1975 classic, Jaws. You can argue that this isn't a horror movie, whatever. The themes of this movie are that a relentless, unstoppable killer is stalking a community and picking off victims one by one. Do you think that sounds closer to Halloween or Gone with the fucking Wind? This movie truly terrified people when it came out. Ocean swimming was down for years after it hit, because the movie is designed to scare you. And 50 years later, Jaws is still the template that people chase when making any form of wildlife run-amok film. And of course, it's the immediate comparison to any and all shark movies that come about. Think back to how many shark movies you've seen with the direct comparison of being the scariest shark movie since Jaws. There's admittedly been some fun ones, but none of them ever did it this well. If you're able to get out to a special screening, there's going to be tons of them this summer, including one on Martha's Vineyard for the first time ever. Down in Texas, they do Jaws on the water where you can watch it while floating, or you can just watch it at home. Nothing wrong with that. But you're going to need a bigger screen for movie number 8 because 8,029 days after the original and 943 and a half weeks since the sequel, we are finally going to find out what happens in the new zombie epic 28 years later. Danny Boyle returns to the director's chair to present a film written by the original scribe, Alex Garland. The sequel is already filmed, the third is already in development. See it early, get on board now, because for the next couple of years, the 28 franchise is gonna be all the rage. Set yourself up in suspended animation that evening. Next day, emerge for our 9th flick, Life Force. So following the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Salem's Lot, The Funhouse, and Poltergeist, Tobe Hooper embarked on his most ambitious product to date. The $25 million film Life Force flopped hard, only making $11.6 million back. Adjusted for inflation, that'd be making $35 million on a $76 million budget today. It basically flopped about as hard as the Crow reboot. Apparently, people were not interested in movies about space vampires for some reason. I honestly have no idea why, because this movie is badass. It's got great creature design, awesome effects, unique ideas, it moves at a solid pace, and the script is written by Dan O'Bannon. Yes, that's Alien, Return of the Living Dead, Total Recall, Dan O'Bannon. If you've never seen it, this is its 40th anniversary. It absolutely does not suck. Then get a buddy to document you celebrating, because 10 years ago on the 23rd, our 10th flick, Creep, saw its debut. Mark Duplass and Patrick Bryce's filmed footage neoclassic introduces us to Joseph, a man with an inoperable tumor that hires Aaron to film things about himself for his unborn child. And as things typically go in horror movies, not necessarily to plan. This small, simple film has since gone on to spawn a sequel, a spin-off series, and there's reports of a third movie being in early development. Proving that if you have a solid story, interesting characters, and good dialogue, you don't need a huge budget to make waves. Become Creep's new favorite victim. Then on the 24th, make your return to the Land of the Dead for its 20th anniversary. The first film in George Romero's second zombie trilogy, 4th overall, Land of the Dead was a huge deal upon its 2005 release, as it was the godfather of the zombie genre's first theatrical release in 12 years and his first zombie film in 20. We'll get to that in a minute. Interestingly, this marked the only time in the Dead saga that Romero hired name talent in Dennis Hopper, John Leguizamo, Simon Baker, Asia Argento, and people like Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright even showed up for cameos. Like I said, it was a huge deal when this dropped. As do his other movies, Land of the Dead has socio-political undertones. Here there's a ton about class separation and corrupt politicians who have formed an oligarchy. Huh. Don't even get into it. These aren't brain-dead zombies that stuck around this far into the video. Right? Right. We all know. Let's move on. And let's dance on into our 12th flick on the 27th, M3GAN 2.0. Perhaps the only thing that's more shocking than the huge success of the original M3GAN is that they dropped the formula for the sequel and went the Terminator 2 route, turning M3GAN face and upgrading her to combat a rival bot. This movie looks insanely fun. I loved the original and I love that they're trying something different this time around. Perhaps even more so, we all remember that there were talks being had about a Chucky crossover. I don't know anything, alright? I'm just saying, with M3GAN being a force for good now, I am going to the earliest show that I can get to, and I'm staying all the way through the post-credit scenes because I don't want anything spoiled for me if what I think is going to happen is going to happen. And closing out the month of June, guess what? We're doing double Romero because the 30th of June marks the 40th anniversary of Day of the Dead. A not uncommon favorite of the Romero Dead saga, Day of the Dead details a group of military, scientists, and civilians that are self-containing in a missile silo while the zombie outbreak unlives on. This is Romero's decidedly anti-war film, which he self-described as being about how a lack of humanity and transparent communication can collapse a society. I know, they know, don't bother. Tom Savini returns to do makeup here, but this go round he's assisted by Howard Berger in his second film credit and Greg Nicotero in the first feature that he ever worked on. 25 years and a slew of major awards later, they'd executive produce and do the effects work for The Walking Dead, which they threw many references to this film into. Day of the Dead, however, keeps their story to a tight 1 hour 43, so don't let that factoid deter you. So wait, you're telling me that in 1985, I could have potentially gone to a theater and done a triple feature of The Stuff, Life Force, and Day of the Dead in a single sitting? Yeah, it was a great year. And this year is starting to shape up nicely when you'll probably be able to do likewise and do like 28 years later M3GAN 2.0 and Dangerous Animals in a single sitting. And Bride Hard, don't forget that one. Fuck off, eat your pudding. And there you go. That's gonna do it for today, creeps. Do all these things. Let me know what you're gonna be watching in June right over here. And as always, this is all just a matter of opinion. See them yourself, make your own decisions, remain critical. Support horror.